Hello everybody and welcome back to the ASUS North America YouTube channel. This is JJ once again, and we're bringing you guys something a lot of you have been asking us for, and that's information and coverage on our brand new Maximus VI Formula. So we recently introduced the Maximus VI Formula as early as Computex. We unveiled it showing you guys that we've redesigned the entire board from top to bottom compared to the previous generation, and we've outdone ourselves in terms of bringing the absolute best gaming motherboard on the market, bar none. So as always in this video, we're going to be covering a little bit of everything, including the accessories, the hardware, the feature set, the topology, and the overall ins and outs when it comes to the Maximus VI Formula. So as always, get ready and stay tuned because we're going to cover the board a lot more in depth. So first up, we're going to take a look at the accessories that come included with the Maximus VI Formula. Okay guys, so we've quickly gone ahead and cracked open the box that includes all the accessories. So we're just going to cover these briefly. So right up here, we have 4 sets of serial ATA cables. The motherboard itself comes included with 10 serial ATA SATA 6G ports, so we give you actually 8 cables. These include both the right angle and the straight through variety, so pretty straightforward. So once again, you have 2 cables per bag with a total of 4 bags, total of 8 serial ATA cables. Next up right here we have our M combo card. So this is an awesome little accessory that you can go ahead and install onto the actual Maximus VI Formula, and it will provide you 2 things. One is going to be Bluetooth 4.0, and then the second option is going to be integrated A211 AC. So that's the fastest wireless connection standard that exists right there. It's a 2x2 base connection, fully backwards compatible with A211N, so that's an awesome choice in terms of integrated support for wireless. And then you have this little guy right here, which is going to be NGFF or M.2. This is the replacement for mSATA, so for you guys that are looking for an ultra high speed miniature SSD based solution, it's right there and ready to go. Next up right here, of course, we have the included 2x2 antenna, which supports adjustable positioning. There's actually 3 positions. This will connect to the M-Combo wireless card, and this is what you're going to need to go ahead and have the best signal reception and throughput for your Bluetooth as well as your Wi-Fi. Next up here, we have, of course, a black ROG SLI ribbon. So this is great for you guys that are looking to take advantage of 2-way SLI support on the Maximus VI Formula. We have, of course, our I/O shield, which is fully padded. Not only does that protect our fingers from getting nicked or scratched, but also protects us from electromagnetic interference. So you want to make sure to install that before you put that inside your chassis. We, of course, have our classic Q connectors. The Q connectors are, of course, black in color, so that's a nice aesthetic touch there as well. And, of course, we can't forget we've got our doorknob hanger, so when we're inside fragging, gaming, owning everybody online or the AI in gameplay, you've got this. Do not disturb or enter. Feel free to go ahead and utilize it. And lastly right here we have our Maximus VI Formula user guide and manual. It is big, it is beefy, but you do want to check it out. It's got a lot of good information here to detail how to set up, how to configure, and how to take best advantage of your Maximus VI Formula. Inside there as well, of course, we have our spiffy ROG cable labels, and that goes ahead and allows you to know where you have things installed and set up, although you can use our UEFI SATA renaming more effectively. And then from there, of course, we have our software suite. This includes AI Suite 3, all the drivers, as well as supplemental software. Do not throw this away. You do want to take advantage of it. It comes with a full 1-year licensed version of Kaspersky antivirus, as well as Daemon Tools Pro and our ROG RAM disk software, and a lot more. So make sure to install this and check out everything that comes included with it. So with that, let's go ahead and find out a little bit more about the Maximus VI Formula. Okay guys, so next up, before we cover a bit more information on the actual design, the feature set, and the overall functionality of what we have on our Maximus VI Formula, we want to give you guys a little bit of perspective on where this sits in relation to the rest of our Z87 motherboards, and specifically the ROG series. One of the most commonly asked questions that I get in pretty much any place where I have the opportunity to feedback to you guys is what are the differences between the different types of ROG boards that we have out there in the marketplace. If we take a little look here at this slide, you can see that in terms of the top end, on our highest end board, we offer the Maximus 6 Extreme. Maximus 6 Extreme is really focused at people that are looking for the ultimate in tweaking and tuning and expandability. One of the key differentials is that it's going to offer 3-way and 4-way support, whereas every board underneath it is going to be limited to only 2-way or a single GPU. So keep in mind, this is really targeted for people that are looking for add-in functionality, so they want to be able to put in something like a Zonar Phoebus, multiple GPUs, and they want the absolute highest level of tweaking and tuning for overclocking, along with specialized features like the OC panel, which comes included with the Extreme. Next up, we would have the actual Formula, which really represents the pinnacle of a gaming motherboard. Our focus is to not compromise on the design or the overall quality in terms of enthusiast-grade overclockability. That's going to pretty much be the same exact level as the Extreme. Formula really focuses in, though, on giving you an absolute premium audiophile-grade sound experience built onto the motherboard, as well as integrated high-performance wireless with specialized gaming technology in our Game First Packet Priority software. So that's where the formula is targeted. Plus, for you guys that are looking at the water cooling side of the fence, it has an integrated cross-chill design which complements anybody that's looking for water cooling. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more perspective on how the boards stack up in relation to each other. Now let's get back to focus in on the actual formula board and talk about the overall topology and the feature set on the board. Okay guys, so now that we've gone to give you a little bit of information on where the ROG boards sit in relation to the Maximus VI Formula, we've got here the star of the show, which is the board itself. Now you can see right off the bat in terms of the overall ID and the aesthetic of the board, it looks entirely different than our previous generation, and that's because for this generation we've incorporated what we refer to as the ROG Armor, which is really just an aggressive actual implementation that goes directly over the top of the motherboard. Now keep in mind that if you do want to go ahead and run the motherboard without this is entirely possible. There's just 9 sets of screws that you can go ahead and remove through the back, and you can completely go ahead and lift that off and have direct access to what would look more standard like a normal ROG motherboard. So with that, what we're first going to go ahead and do is we're going to remove the actual ROG Armor to give you a little bit more insight in terms of how that relates to the motherboard itself, and then we're going to go ahead and move over and talk about the entire topology of the board. Okay guys, so you can see that we've gone ahead and done a quick disassembly, which is actually very easy. Like I said, only 9 screws. Go ahead and keep the ROG Armor in place, and here you can see that we have the actual Maximus VI Formula board entirely free of the ROG Armor, and it still looks fantastic. It's got a great red and black aesthetic with the nice white contrast. Now in terms of the ROG Armor, you can take a look at it right here. I think it looks great by itself, and of course the main reason why we've implemented this is really for 2 purposes. One is that it provides an aggressive aesthetic which complements kind of the look and feel that a lot of people are interested in having in a premium ROG based system. The other reason is because actually it can provide some additional airflow benefits, predominantly in the fact that we don't have the hot air that can come from high performance GPUs going directly onboard the PCB. So we can help to reduce the actual onboard PCB temperatures. Outside of that, there's not any more specialized fan implementations like we might have on the TUF series, where there might be supplemental fans as well as shunt based designs that go ahead and complement that. But keep in mind, we have definitely thought about being able to optimize the cooling performance on this motherboard by the integration of the cross-chill water cooling design. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the topology of the board. Now for the back plate, you can see right here, this is the second portion of the ROG Armor, and that's going to be here. And this is a really high-grade piece of material. This is actually SECC steel. It's thick, it's heavy, and it provides us quite a number of actual benefits. One, it's going to give us additional rigidity to the motherboard in itself. So if you've got a heatsink that requires a large backplate and anything that has a high level of torquing, this helps to minimize any type of bowing or fake flexibility in the motherboard, which we don't want, because we don't want the traces on the motherboard to be impacted. So this is going to go ahead and add overall rigidity and structural integrity to the board as a whole. A second area is going to be right here, where if you see here, there's thermal interface pad material, and this makes contact with the actual back of the motherboard and exposed portions of the VRM assembly, specifically the MOSFETs and the drivers. And you can see right here there's an actual indent. The reason why that there is an indent is because that actually makes direct contact with the back of the board and acts as a partial heatsink. So that helps to go ahead and pull away heat from that part of the motherboard and dissipate it through this actual backplate mechanism. So we get a thermal improvement as well as a rigidity improvement. And then the third portion is it looks awesome. This just complements the overall look and the feel of what we'd want with a premium class motherboard like the Maximus VI Formula. So with that, that gives you a little bit more perspective on the actual ROG Armor and how that complements the actual Maximus VI Formula. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the nitty and gritty of it and talk about the actual topology and the feature set of the board. Okay guys, so next up we're going to talk about one of the real key focal points of the Maximus VI Formula, and that's going to be the brand new cross-chill hybrid thermal solution. And what we mean by hybrid thermal solution is, if you guys remember the Maximus V Formula, we released an entirely innovative thermal solution that complemented both air overclocking and air-based usage, as well as for guys that are looking to push the envelope and have higher level of stability, lower operating temperatures, especially while overclocking. You could complement it by integrating a water cooling based solution on that. And that was all hybrid implemented in one single thermal design, meaning you didn't have to go ahead and service out any type of blocks or make any changes. And for this generation, we've maintained the design, but we've significantly improved upon it. One of the key aspects that we can immediately see right off the bat is you can see that I actually have compression fittings already attached to us. Now keep in mind that of course compression fittings, along with any other type of fittings, do not come included with the board. Here I'm just showing this to you as a general reference. But in the previous generation we had previously implemented barbs that were already pre-designed and pre-implemented within the actual thermal solution. For this generation, we've gone ahead and allowed the end user, you, to be able to go ahead and customize it and be able to go ahead and utilize whatever you want. So as you can see right there, I've got some really nice high performance, nice coolants compression fittings that I easily just went ahead and attached, and I'm good to go. The great thing about that is you can go ahead and use whatever ID size tubing that you want to go ahead and utilize for your water cooling setup relative to the pump and the flow that you need, as well as if you want to go ahead and also have barbs just because of the ease of use on how that actually works with the tubing. That's entirely up to you. Really, the great thing about this type of design is it complements the flexibility that we would expect within a premium and performance-oriented product. So we're really happy about taking our previous generation design and pushing it further than anything else that's been offered in the marketplace, especially compared to that of competitors. Now, the great thing also is when we take a look at the overall functionality of it, this still really complements, first and foremost, the users that are out there under an air-based usage model. So if you're working under air, you don't have an actual water cooling setup, you can feel confident and entirely run this in a pure stock or passive fashion without any issues relative to stability or overall functionality. But if you're somebody that wants to go ahead and push the envelope, whether it's for aesthetics or whether it's for temperature consideration or whether it's to complement both of them and you want to take advantage of water cooling, the cross chill is going to take care of you. Now, if we take a look right here, you can see a little bit of a split breakdown in terms of actually the topology of the cross chill design, and you can see that we actually have a pinned fin water channel assembly here, which really helps to complement the overall effective dissipation abilities and the efficiency of the thermal solution. In terms of the overall cooling performance, it can be up to as much as 23C differential between the passive based cooling solution and when you've gone ahead and integrated it with water. So this gives you a little bit of perspective in terms of the actual cross chill thermal design, which we think is a really outstanding point in terms of being able to complement you guys out there that are overclocking or want the best in terms of overall operating temperatures for your VRM assembly. Now, keep in mind that, of course, we still keep the ultra high grade premium components in terms of the chokes, the MOSFETs, and the capacitors to go ahead and make sure that the VRM is also operating as efficiently and as temperature controlled as possible. So next up, we're actually going to go ahead and talk about the topology, including the VRM assembly, or specifically the Extreme Engine Digi Plus 3 VRM design. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at that and remove the actual cross chill thermal solution. Okay guys, so now that we've given you a little bit of information about the actual cross-chill hybrid thermal solution, which allows you to go ahead and either air-cool the board or I'll go ahead and water-cool the board, we're going to go ahead and focus on the actual topology of the board. So starting off from here at the top, you can't clearly see it, but right above here we actually have a 4-pin fan header, and just like all the fan headers actually on the motherboard, that fully supports 3-pin and 4-pin control. Now if we go ahead and focus in a little bit more on here, you can see that we of course have 2 additional CPU fan headers. That's the CPU optional and the CPU primary. That's going to be great for push and pull fan configurations, and once again, those headers along with all the other ones fully support both 3-pin and 4-pin control, whether it's going to be in the UEFI or whether it's going to be in the operating system via AI Suite 2. Now, right above that, we have our Memo OK button, which is a great button that can serve as a kind of semi-clear CMOS, which means if you aggressively overclock the board or maybe have issues in terms of memory compatibility, you can go ahead and depress that and it'll reset the board to functional working values. But the advantage is it will not reset any other parameters, such as maybe, let's say, your SATA configuration, fan profiles, or any other variables outside of frequencies and voltages. In addition to that, it can also serve as a Go button, which means if you hold it down, it can reference a stored profile inside the UEFI for a quick one-touch overclock. Now, right over here, of course, we have the primary CPU power connection. So we have an 8-pin with a supplemental 4-pin. The supplemental 4-pin is not required. That's only going to be in the event that you want that for just an additional kind of backup for aggressive level overclocking. But this is really focused for the people that are going to be utilizing the board under more aggressive or exotic cooling. Now, as we go ahead and move past that, we can see right here we have a debug LED. Debug LED is great for people that want to reference a debug code in terms of if the board has issues posting or booting correctly. They can go ahead and reference that in the manual information and see what might be causing an issue with the board. That is the debug LED. Right next to that, we also have corresponding voltage read points. Those are all those little points right there at the top of the board. That's great for people that want a hardware level verification in terms of the voltages that are being provided to various points, whether it's CPU voltage, DRAM voltage, things along those lines. Keep along with the digital design implementation of both the CPU and the Digi Plus power controller that we have for the DRAM, though, your voltages are pretty much exactly what you get. Very accurate. Here, in terms of the left-hand side of the board, we've got a couple of other things going on that are focused very much for the hands-on enthusiast. We've got the onboard power button, we have an onboard reset button, we have another 4-pin fan header, which also supports 3-pin fan control. Of course, we have our 24-pin power for the motherboard, and then right there we have our front USB 3 header. And that, of course, supports our USB 3 boost performance technology to support the enhancement of storage devices, as well as can potentially go ahead and support USB Charger Plus. Directly below that, we've got 10 serial ATA ports, 6 of those provided by the PCH, with 4 of those provided by supplemental AS Media 1061 SATA 6G controllers. Right below that, you're going to see that you've got a fast mode switch, which is left in the default on position, and that's to give you the optimal post and boot speeds. So for you guys that are using SSDs and utilizing a native UEFI installation, this is going to allow you to have the fastest post and boot possible. Right below that, we've got a direct key button, which is a great enthusiast feature. It's a one-touch button to allow you to reboot straight into the UEFI. It also can work in conjunction with this little header right here, which is the DRCT header. That allows you to go ahead and run your cable straight from the reset lead from the front of your chassis to this header, and allows your reset button to turn into the same thing as the direct key button. So you can use this or a software application in Windows called Boot Setting that will all allow you to easy, within one click of a button, reboot straight into the UEFI. Of course, right below that, we've got all the front connections for things like our hard drive LED, our power LED, the reset button, or the power button for the system. We then have an additional 4-pin fan header, which also supports 3-pin control. We've got a USB 2 header right there. And then we have some supplemental connectors right here for USB, as well as for the OC panel support. So the OC panel is an optional accessory that comes included with the Maximus 6 Extreme. I would recommend, if you guys want to find out more information, check out the Maximus Extreme overview video, where we go ahead and give you some information on the OC panel. It's an awesome piece of hardware that complements not only the standard enthusiasts, but the overclockers. We've got then another 4-pin fan header, and we then have a TPM header support, and then we have supplemental Molex power. The supplemental Molex power is only going to be for users that are using ultra high-end GPU configurations and require the best load. This can also help to provide additional stability for DRAM overclocking and for other couple aspects. It is a supplemental power source, so it is not required, but if you want to provide the best level of stability, I would recommend connecting it. Next up here, we have, of course, our front HD audio connection, and then moving up from there, we've got something really special, but we're going to cover the Supreme effects isolated from the rest of the motherboard due to the entire level of depth that we spent into here. We want to cover this a bit more into detail. So we're going to go ahead and move past that and head straight up here in terms of 2 additional 4-pin fan headers. And then also directly below that, you're going to see that we have an optional temp sensor. And there are actually a couple of these sprinkled out through the board. So there's one here, and then there's another here, and there's a third optional temp sensor as well. These optional temp sensors allow you to go ahead and run a sensor lead to different points on the motherboard to go ahead and have real-time temperature monitoring provided to you either in the UEFI or in AI Suite 3. So when you combine that together with, of course, the extensive fan control that we offer within Fan Expert 2, it's a really awesome level of control and performance and monitoring that's available to you here on the Maximus 6 Formula. Now from there, in terms of the VRM componentry, this is a real spotlight for the motherboard. This is using ultra high grade premium components. So first off the bat here, we have these ultra high performance black wing chokes. These are rated at 60 amps a piece, so these are just beasts in terms of their power output capability, and also because of their actual finned design have lower operating temperatures because of improved points of dissipation. These are fully molded, high performance, really high grade inductors, pretty much the best you can get in the market right now. Right next to those, of course, you see a number of ultra high performance 10K rated capacitors. These are Nichicon GT black rated caps that have extraordinary lifespan, as well as significantly lower and significantly higher operating temperatures, and these are all throughout the motherboard, really providing you best in class capacitors. And then lastly, of course, we have these ultra high end NextFET power MOSFETs. These NextFET MOSFETs really are the cream of the crop in terms of, once again, also offering us higher voltage output, better efficiency, and lower operating temperatures. When you combine all those things together, you're going to have outstanding stability, efficiency, and great overall power delivery for overclocking, or definitely if you're running stock, it'll take care of you there, no problems as well. So that gives you a little bit of the lay of the land when it comes to the VRM componentry. Now if we move back down here in terms of the overall relative storage expansion, we have a lot going on. The board fully supports two-way configurations as well as three-way configurations for for Crossfire, but not for SLI. So once again, two-way SLI, two-way Crossfire, as well as three-way Crossfire support. So you've got a by-1 PCIe slot right here, then you have a physical by 16 as well as an electrical by 16. Then you have another by-1 PCIe, and then you have another physical by 16, while this slot will run at electrically 8x if you're going to be running two GPUs. Then another by-1, and then right here another physical by 16, where this slot will generally run at a by-4 interconnect. Keep in mind that that's Gen 3 lanes. Gen 3 by 4 is actually still going to be more efficient and greater in bandwidth than a Gen 2 by 8 base connection. So in three-way Crossfire it would be 844, but keep in mind once again that is Gen 3, which would be superior to by 8 Gen 2. So you've got a lot of expansive connectivity in regards to this. And then lastly, of course, right here we have our non-socketed UEFI ROM chip. This is a great option for you guys that need to be able to have the best level of functionality at being able to service or replace the UEFI in the event that it were to fail. But with that, we also have a great recovery feature in USB BIOS flashback that we'll talk about when we break over here into the I/O. But before we get into the back I/O connectivity, we're going to go ahead and talk a bit more about our Supreme Effects audio design. Okay guys, so next up we're going to talk about a very important point, probably the most important point outside of the cross-chill hybrid thermal solution that we've put on the Maximus VI Formula, and that's going to be the latest generation of Supreme Effects Audio. For you guys that don't know what Supreme Effects Audio is that it's ROG's internal naming scheme for what we refer to as our non-reference audio design. The ROG team has been very, very passionate about bringing the absolute best-in-class integrated audio experience to our ROG series of motherboards that are focused at gaming enthusiasts, and that's what we've done continually over multiple generations. For this generation though, we really wanted to step it up to another entire class of performance, really focusing on taking it to not only higher quality components, but really trying to reach a new level of performance that's offered that can really be in line with what we would consider audiophile grade performance. So with that, let's go ahead and touch on the actual Supreme Effects section. Now you can see right here, this is the entire section that we're referring to, and this is the section that we spent a huge amount of time and effort on really giving you guys a whole nother experience when it comes to the overall audio fidelity and the quality of the sound experience. Whether it's going to be for games, whether it's going to be for music, or whether it's going to be for movies, it doesn't matter. You're going to get an outstanding experience. Now you can see that we continue to offer the isolated red line separated design, which means effectively that we're separating that entire section of the motherboard from the rest of the motherboard. That's great because that helps us to focus in on giving you a discrete class level of performance, meaning essentially you're getting the same level of quality that you would have on an isolated or discrete sound card that you would plug into, let's say, like a PCI Express slot. Now with that, we've gone ahead and incorporated a huge number of upgrades for this generation. So outside of the fully separated redline audio design, we of course maintain the full EMI shield cover. Now that helps to go ahead and protect the codec in terms of not having any type of overall interference or impacting its overall quality or overall functionality. So that's right here in terms of the Supreme Effects shielding. Now around that, you're going to see that there's a large number of high-end capacitors, and these are all audio grade capacitors. So here we've leveraged our design expertise in audio, not only from our Zonar team, but from multiple generations of our ROG's Supreme Effects audio team, to be able to go ahead and pick a great set of components that really complement what we're looking for here. So we have these ELNA grade audio capacitors, and the thing that actually are specific about audio grade capacitors is the actual electrolytic composition. So the material that they're made up of is actually more conducive to the wavelength and the waveforms of actual audio, as opposed to standard based capacitors. So their actual composition itself is more in line with the way that the waveform for sound works. And we've carefully selected these to really be in line with a lot of the robust and detailed soundscapes that you have in games, so things like explosions and gunshots, as well as diversified sound fields and voices that you're going to have in game. It really complements that. Now another big improvement right here is going to be these WEMA audio capacitors as well. These are specifically graded capacitors that are actually produced in Germany, which are on a whole nother level that you actually find in audiophile grade componentry, and really help to improve the overall sound stage, especially the warmth and the overall response levels that you're going to have for sharp, detailed frequencies. So this is really nice in terms of what we have here. And we continue to offer a true Texas Instruments grade headphone based amplifier. This is important because sometimes you're going to hear that other boards have headphone amplifiers, and many times they're using a very cost-reduced headphone amplifier that might not actually be focused for audio-based usage. It's just a general amplifier. For us, we want to focus on giving you guys a really outstanding component choice, so of course we maintain that. In addition to that, for this generation though, we've really stepped it up by incorporating a Cirrus Logic actual DAC. So we have a full actual DAC processing unit. So this is the type of stuff you would get in a high-performance external like USB-based DAC, so that we get some really extraordinary sound processing to be able to leverage the best performance that we can offer from this codec in conjunction with that DAC. And in total, when you kind of combine this all together, really the goal here is to be able to give you an outstanding gaming experience, an outstanding music listening experience, or really immersive movie experience. Now, a lot of people sometimes downplay the quality of a codec, but don't understand that the codec is really as good as the effort that you put into it. The codec here has outstanding specification support, such as 24-bit at 192 kilohertz, including up to 115 dB. That's an extraordinary signal-to-noise ratio, as well as the actual dB sound output. So that gives you guys a bit of perspective in terms of what we've done here with the Supreme Effects audio design. We hope that you guys are going to really be impressed with it, because we've spent a huge amount of time and effort on it. With that, we're going to go ahead and move over into the back I/O and talk a bit more about some of the other connectivity that's offered on our Maximus VI Formula. Okay guys, so now that we've given you guys a bit of perspective on our Supreme Effects audio design, we want to cover the actual I/O connectivity that this board offers here, and it's quite rich. So right off at the top right here, we have the actual M combo card. So this actually supports two options in terms of integrated expansion. By default, one of them is already filled because we have integrated 811 AC mini PCIe based solution. So that's a 2x2 AC solution. So that's the current fastest standard specification you get on the market. And this is actually faster than some of the USB solutions you'll see also on the market, because this is a direct PCI Express based implementation versus being a USB based implementation. In addition to that, you get Bluetooth 4.0, which is going to be optimally paired for things like headsets, keyboards, mice, and a number of different other peripherals. So that's a great option. In addition to that, on the storage side, you're going to have support for the latest generation ultra small form factor storage, and that's going to be M.2, or what's now referred to as NGFF. The NGFF is a replacement standard for mSATA, so that means if you want to put a high performance SSD that fits within that form factor, you can go ahead and integrate that as well. So that's a great option for you guys that are looking for a huge amount of flexibility. Directly below that, we have two buttons. One's going to be a clear CMOS button, and the other one's going to be the ROG Connect button. ROG Connect is a great feature that allows you to go ahead and connect a USB-enabled notebook or tablet that is running the Windows operating system to have low-level advanced monitoring, control, and diagnostic abilities for the motherboard. In addition to that, this button will also serve as the USB BIOS flashback button. That means when used in conjunction with the corresponding USB port, you can take a flash drive, plug it in with the corresponding UEFI file, and you can directly update the motherboard or recover the UEFI. The great thing about that is that even if you don't have a CPU or graphics card or memory installed, just the PSU standby power, or the motherboard isn't even turning on but you have power connected to it, you can recover it through the USB BIOS flashback. Next up right here, you can see that we have 4 USB 2 ports. Directly below that, we have 4 USB 3 ports. Those USB 3 ports also support our USB Boost technology, which is optimized for improving the storage performance for storage-related devices. Directly below that, we have a DP connection, which does support 4K resolution output, along with an HDMI output, which also supports 4K output. From there, we have a Toslink optical output connection, which works in conjunction with the Supreme Effects audio design to give us optimal digital quality audio out, and does support DTS Ultra 2 PC as well as DTS Connect, which is great for you guys that are looking for multi-channel encoding from 2-channel based sources. Directly below that, we also of course have 2 more USB 3 ports, so that brings our total to actually 6 here on the back plane, with 2 more from the front USB 3, being a total of 8 USB 3 headers. And keep in mind that with USB 3 we support, like I said, not only the USB 3 boost but our USB Charger Plus. Next to that, we have Intel's latest generation i-Series network controller. These are absolutely fantastic for their throughput and their performance, as well as their management options. And this will also come with our Game First Packet Priority software, meaning that it's a special piece of software that can either work with the Intel controller or the integrated wireless to be able to optimally tune things like your latency, your ping response, as well as optimizations for different types of internet protocols and different types of applications. Things like Skype, downloading applications, your web browser, and any number of different network-centric services. Directly below that, we then have, of course, our standard analog output connectivity for multi-channel audio, whether it's going to be 2-channel or 5.1 or even greater than that, and that rounds out our overall connectivity. So with that gives you guys a little bit of perspective in terms of the ins and outs and the overall connection offers here on the Maximus VI Formula. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. Okay guys, so here wrapping it up, we can see we've gone ahead and put back out our fully covered Maximus VI Formula board, and to kind of give you guys a little bit of an overall perspective on where this board sits in, and to recap a lot of the features and the functions that we've already discussed here in this overview. You know, we can ask the general question is, what really makes the Formula special? And really what it comes down to is we've made the best gaming motherboard even that much better. If you take what we offered in the previous generation, which was an outstanding board in terms of its overclockability, the component quality, the quality of the audio experience, the robust network connectivity options, and the overall kind of functionality in terms of the software-based experience, whether it was things like Game First 2, whether it was our USB boost technology, USB Charger Plus, or Fan Expert. We took every single one of those things, implemented them for this generation, and pushed them to even further markers. Every single aspect of this board has been redone, refocused in on, and improved upon. So for you guys that always ask the question, you know, what should I be considering when I'm talking about getting an absolutely great gaming motherboard? The Formula fits the bill in every single one of these respects. When you consider the work that we've put into the Supreme Effects audio design, you're unquestionably getting the absolute best audio experience that we've ever put onto a motherboard, bar none, and it's the best motherboard audio ever put out by any motherboard that's been out on the marketplace. So that in itself is a huge achievement for your people that are looking for an absolutely great gaming experience, music experience, or movie experience. And when you tie that in to also being able to have support for the sonic radar, as well as the perfect voice technology, you're just going to have an unmatched audio experience in game. When you tie that in also that we've integrated, of course, once again, the latest generation networking technology, whether it's Intel's latest NIC, 802.11ac, and then you tie in the Game First Packet Priority software, we've got all the networking connectivity taken care of. Then you tie that into, of course, the cross-chill hybrid thermal solution, which complements not only air users, but water cooling users, and the fact that you're going to get awesome temperature performance on this board, whether you're running it at stock or whether you're overclocking it and taking advantage of that extreme Engine Digi Plus 3 power design. You guys are looking really for the cream of the crop and the absolute best when it comes to a gaming motherboard. The Maximus VI Formula is going to fit the bill. So if you guys enjoyed the video, you have any questions, comments, feedback, I'd love to see them here on the page. Feel free to go ahead and also send them over to our inbox. If you want to go ahead and hit us up on our social media channels, you can also check us out at our ASUS North America Facebook page, as well as our ASUS North America Twitter page. And as always, if you guys please enjoyed the video, please make sure and like it, as well as subscribe, and keep it locked here to the channel for the latest content. So as always, thank you for watching.